Just a reminder before today's programme that the previous Ident Review Extra is still available to view, where we took a look at I Love 1970s. And now, here on AMTV, time for the latest instalment of the Ident Review Extra, and this time, a familiar sequence at night time. Hello, and welcome to the Ident Review Extra, the spin-off show that takes a look at one individual ident each episode and gives it the review it deserves. And today we continue our marathon through the BBC2 idents of the 1990s and now the early 2000s. Today in our BBC2 journey, we're looking at an ident that in many ways is similar to one we've already looked at. You may remember a few episodes ago we took a look at the Wave Day ident, a really calming and serene ident that in many ways was an evolution of Water, and more in keeping with the earlier sequences from 1991. Well, for those of you who may not know, 9 months after Wave Day's debut, it would see a spiritual sequel of sorts. So without further ado, let's take a look at Wave Night.
A tale of grief and the power of the supernatural now on BBC2 in tonight's moving film drama, Reunion.
Gorgeous. Wonderfully gorgeous. Despite being presented here in about 144p resolution, I think it's obvious that the darkened version of Wave Day, known as Wave Night, is a real pleaser to the viewing eye. I love how these darker shades of blue clash against the bright tone of the familiar 2, allowing it to stand out amongst everything as the waves crash against it. It's quite remarkable how something as simple as swapping out the colour palette can bring about such a difference. The wave effects look just as elegant as ever, and in many ways, I think I prefer this variant to its daytime equivalent. It just all meshes together in a more cohesive way in my opinion. If you haven't seen my review on Wave Day, be sure to check that out too.
It's your money or your life in half an hour here on BBC2 Wales.
It's a great shame that for such a gorgeous looking ident that initially it didn't get much of a life on air at all. Just over a year in fact, as in November of 2001, this ident, along with all of its peers, was swapped out for a new era of sequences entirely for BBC2. But for those of you thinking a good quality version of Wave Night doesn't exist, have no fear. As despite missing the 50th anniversary celebrations of BBC2 in 2014, at the start of 2015, Wave Night would be back on our screens to help calm us and delight us once again.
Film comedy quartet starring Maggie Smith here in half an hour. First on BBC2 Northern Ireland, the challenge is on.
Thank God a HD version of this sequence exists. Just like Wave Day and several idents from this era, this sequence really benefits from getting a second chance to air, and for far longer than its original lifespan. The sequence you see before you lasted on BBC2 for just over 3 years, up until September of 2018, when again a new era of idents was introduced to take over. But Wave Night in my opinion is far more than just a simple colour change of Wave Day. Despite it being very similar, it has always felt like its own separate and individual ident to me, and indeed to many other viewers. Presenting this in the nighttime hours helps get us audiences ready to settle down, to ease into the evening, to get us hooked and interested with some stunning visuals, great use of colour, and the ever-present familiar too, shining out amongst it all. Let's hope that Wave Night gets another chance in the future to show itself off once again. And so we've come to the end, but before we go, the final words from our broadcaster. This programme has been brought to you in part by our producer and director patrons. With your support, you help keep AMTV running and the programmes coming to your screens. Thank you. And that does bring us to the end of another evening here on AMTV. We hope you enjoyed the programme, and we hope to see you next time. Good night.